whenever I have that, you can know that you can, uproot your life. You're not physically moving, but you're going to change everything you're doing. And you just take this leap of faith with me. But in order to feel secure, I was like, I need to make sure I have your salary set aside because that's a decent salary to pay
Yeah.
when, on a gamble.
So we're at the front desk and I got cameras and this chick calls me working overnight. She's like totally shook and she's like, you just need to go check the camera at this time. And so I pull the camera up and like, you got this like angled down camera, like front desk and then like the elevator and there's two bathrooms. This dude comes off the elevator butt ass naked. I mean, and I call her back. I'm like, was that dude? Did I just see that right? Is he like butt ass naked? And she's like, Hunter, and he was just in the bathroom. She's like, he's still in the bathroom because he couldn't come out. I don't know if he was like sleepwalking, like drunk, like what.
His name is Russ. He bought that mic, and now he's got a podcast show.
I talk big about eating the frog and we make these tough phone calls and what we do on a daily basis. You're going to feel so much better if you just hit it head on that day. Be courageous. But if you avoid those things and you're scared and you have fear and you don't take those chances, that's where anxiety, I believe, is heavily built up. And then it's just going to go downhill from there. So be courageous, man. That's the big thing.
Yeah. I like what you said about, and I'm going to put a label on it, learned optimism. Like somebody had to teach me how to be optimistic.
Yep.
Speaking for myself, and it's kind of what I heard from you, and the mindset of what I think is who I am. And it's funny because when my wife and I got married, we each have a bunch of books, and we only own two books in common. And one was called Mindset, and one was called Learned Optimism. Because she's an educator and I'm a business person, so we had novels and things that learned the concept of learned optimism is something I really appreciate you bringing into this conversation, Hunter. And what a cool story. So we're going to talk about how the two of you intersected. So what happened after college and why are you sitting here with Hayden?
Yeah. I left school and I decided after 1 year at Indiana, I wasn't doing well. And I knew if I wanted to, I was at a really bad place. And I ended up writing my parents a 2-page letter and mailed it to them, letting them know like I had made my decision up. Ultimately, if I still wanted to be on this planet, I needed to make a change and I had to take it. I was really lost at that time. And I moved home. I haven't lived with my parents since when I went to college, I moved out. So I'm very independent and I'd always paid my bills and, learned all that stuff. And so I'm moving back home for the first time, 1 year in Indiana. I'm telling you, I got the hell out of there. I packed my car up and I drove the last day of school and it wasn't right. I didn't handle some of those. That goes back on mindset and kind of relationships. And like my teacher, I thought a lot of him and I didn't handle that right. And I didn't treat people the way I should have. And that's on me. And that's just something I can't change it. So all I did do is move forward. And yeah, I changed myself. Let's put it that way. I'm a completely different person. But I moved back. I had called already while I was in Indiana. I was in hotels. Like I said, I almost didn't go to grad school. I was going to go into management with the company I was working at in hotels in college in Charlotte. So I called him and I was like, they love me. I kept working at hotels while I was in grad school, part-time front desk, just because I enjoyed it. Love talking to people and called them. They opened up a management position for me at a Hilton property in Charlotte near the airport. So I'm living with my parents. They were awesome. It's just I need to live by myself. So I quickly moved back to Charlotte. Probably I don't know 1 to 2 months, maybe 3 months after coming back, and started my management career in hotels. And that was big. I think they created a new role for me, guest service manager. I was in that for like maybe 3 to 6 months. I can't remember at this
Oh,
point.
yeah.
And I got promoted to assistant general manager, was that for a little while. And then my dad's been in hotels my whole life. He was out of Utah. He had bought a portfolio and one of those hotels was the Courtyard at the Charlotte airport. And he called my dad asking if he knew anybody who, could be a good general manager. They were looking to hire somebody. And my dad's like, well, my son's an AGM in that market. So I interviewed for that. I was 25 years old, got the job, thought I was rich, $87,500 salary, 30% bonus. I'm like, oh, I'm rich, baby. I got it. And then that wasn't the case by all means. And the stress and stuff.
Well, you could be. You could choose to make that rich.
Yeah, 100%. maybe if I was more financially literate when I was younger, on the decisions on
Right.
vehicles and things like
I
that,
mean,
that I
that's
learned
not a
a lot
bad way
through.
to get rich right there.
Yeah. It was nuts. So that was, I ended up getting a call back from the guy that I went to that hotel for 2 years, get this big thing that just blew everybody's lives up. It was called COVID-19. So GM was awesome for the first 3 months, and then COVID started, and it was rough, but I got through it, ran that
Yep.
hotel right at 2 years, and got a call from the guy I worked for at college. And he's like, I got an opportunity in Charleston, South Carolina. I want to move you down there. And at first I was like, nah, man, I'm in Charlotte. I'm an hour away from my family, my parents, my brothers come up every weekend, watch, football or the fights with me. Like I really missed a lot of that with undergrad, whatnot, in Indiana. But ultimately he gave me more money, and I made the pack, which is the best decision I ever made, because it was all part of this process of me growing mentally, hands down. I told you that hotel I was at for 2 years in Charlotte. My regional manager was the most optimistic man I've ever met. Zachary Peck is a phenomenal guy. He would just come to the hotel, and I'm struggling. We have no staff. We're, cut all our vendors out. I'm doing the damn landscaping of the Marriott. I'm cleaning rooms. I'm doing everything. Like, it was a struggle. And I remember one day, like, the sliding glass doors at the beginning of at the front of the hotel broke, and I'm like, that
Right.
is my night auditor is the one position they let me keep, the overnight person. But we're near the airport, right off Billy Graham Parkway, not a good area in Charlotte, and they're not going to want to work if their one security source, structure is broken. And Zach was flying in. I wouldn't like rip the sensor off. I'm trying to wire it. I'm on Google, YouTube, trying to figure out how to rewire this thing and see if I can fix it. And I remember Zach would just walk in always, like things would be so hectic, and he had the biggest smile, and he's just like, hey guys. And I'm like, dude, why are you smiling right now? This shit is bad, dude. Like, why are you doing that? And he's the one that told me that circumstances are uncontrollable. And then he told me, he said, you should read
Yeah.
a book called As a Man Thinketh. And I looked up the book. I respected him so much that I actually went home that night. I didn't like read it. I had done the audio book. We were going somewhere. And it was so funny because I heard that phrase I said about circumstances being uncontrollable. It was in that book.
Yeah.
And that was really when it was a lot about, it was like a pocket book, for survival guide for men. It was written in like 1902.
Yeah.
And that's when I started like understanding. I'm like, nothing's changed here. Maybe surroundings in life.
That's
We got a
right.
lot of negative stuff around us. But at that point, when I read that book, I would wake up in these moods where you don't want to tackle the day. You're being negative already. My whole thing was, let me blast some music and get pumped up in the morning, and I'd be like rocking it, like screaming, getting some good music going. And then it was so fun. It took a few months, but being consistent with that, next
Yeah.
thing you know, I'm like looking back and I'm like, I've been waking up in some pretty good moods here lately, like not going
Mhm.
to, I think I say that because, people go through different things, and it's tough, but like you can rewire how you think, and you
Yeah.
can control and change. And a lot of that goes with like really looking at your life. Like, what are you procrastinating on? What are you fear on? And sometimes like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Like that's the same thing that goes in sales. I think Russ, you had Go for No. Great book, but it's essentially what it's talking about. Like you're
Yeah.
scared of failure or rejection. You're going to let two letters hold you back from all you want in life. Like, no, like, but it's scary, easier said than done, but it's all about the mindset, like kind of getting in there. But sorry for that. I ended up moving to Charleston.
Funny
Yeah.
story. This is, I mean, when we
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the
Where does
how
Hayden come into this story?
was insane because
Uh,
I had just moved down there myself. I was in the Navy. We had just gotten married. Similar thing with COVID. We just moved into our house, and I had just lost my dad. And so my dad had just passed away. And so my mom was like, "Hey, I would like to move down um, to Charleston to be around you because there's not really anybody else that she knew up in Hickory where we were at." And so we're looking at houses, and just for the heck of it, we're going to go tour this other neighborhood. And lo and behold, we walk into the model home, and we're looking at through the stuff. And then Hunter walks in with his people, and we're just like, oh my God, we haven't seen each other since high school, And so it's been, what, 9 years?
It's been almost 10 years.
Yeah, like it had been almost 9, 10 years since we had seen each other. And then we're both, shopping for homes. I was looking for my mom, and he's looking for himself. And we just recollided. And so where I was like, oh, what do you do? What do you do? And just kind of like follow each other again, and just got plugged back in. And then I knew you were doing
That was like
hotels.
4 years ago. Had to be
Yeah.
four because I've been, it
Oh,
was like maybe
2020.
longer, yeah.
And so I knew you were doing hotels, and, you had probably been seeing me online. And then I was like, you're like, oh man, I'd love to, join you. I'd love to work together. And I was like, dude, you're telling me like,
I
I
want
need
some money.
100,000. I need $100,000 a year. I was like, I know you're the best salesman. Like you listen to him talk. He's been taught, like he's got the gift of connecting with people. And so I was like, he will be the best salesman in Charleston. Like I just know it. I just need to get him. I need to get him on the team. And so I told him, I was like, hey, when I have 100 grand of your salary, I'm going to set it aside in a bank account. And whenever I have that, you can know that you can, uproot your life. You're not physically moving, but you're going to change everything you're doing. And you just take this leap of faith with me. But in order to feel secure, I was like, I need to make sure I have your salary set aside because that's a decent salary to pay
Yeah.
when, on a gamble.
Someone who knows
Right.
nothing about real estate.
Yeah. And so, yeah, 100, and, didn't really know anything about real estate. And so, a couple years have passed. We continue to just kind of, tiptoe around that conversation, connected a few more times. And then, Hunter just calls me one day. He's like, dude, I'm done. He said, I don't care what you pay me. I just need to change what I'm doing right now. And so he was having a rough go with the hotels, didn't like it and wanted to change.
Yeah, I think I told you, you give me this to cover my mortgage and my car payment, and
Yeah.
I'll start in 2 weeks, or I'm coming over to you.
Yeah.
He was like, shut up. I think I remember you're like, dude, I lose sleep over this, trying to figure out how to get you in here.
Yeah.
And
It was,
yeah, we went, got drinks literally that afternoon,
Mm.
like met it, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm on. And it was scary as shit because
Yeah.
I come from, I mean, that was my comfort, you
Yeah.
know. But my wife had started, she's an attorney, and that was the hard part is like, I always relied on my job, and you have that fear of losing your job and so on because you're getting by the, hair of your ass through everything. And finally, when she started working, that was a big lift because I'm like, if I lose my job, because hotels are, they don't have to have a reason to fire you ultimately. Um, that actually happened to me once. I mean, I went through, I'd never been written up, nothing. And then I don't know what the politics were of it, but I got a 1 week notice of improvement. And I was like, it really shocked me. I was like, what the hell? And kind of sticks in the back of your head sometimes, it's
Yeah.
a big fuel and drive for me because I know who I was as a manager. I was very optimistic and I was working on growing people too. And, staffs like that, but we went through some hell with some shit. Hotels I took over that I was cleaning up and going through some stuff. And, it was rough. And I got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. That's why I sat down. I had one last altercation at work and I was literally shaking. So I was so pissed off. And I was like, dude, screw this. And we had been talking and, I was like, he talked to me, selling me. You got the sales too, brother. Steve was always.
I sell myself,
We
but you sell.
need we need some funny hotel stories, some
God.
crazy hotel stories.
Tell them the one. I mean, this was kind of opened
Lots.
my eyes. What was it? Christmas with the big freeze that happened?
Oh, dude, just stuff like that. We went to North Carolina, my wife and I, for Christmas. And
Yeah.
that's the hard part. My wife hated it. She's like, my wife's from New York. So all of her friends are up there and say a wedding. And she's like, we're going to this wedding. I'm like, I can't go to that wedding. And she's like, what do you mean you're off on the weekend? I'm like, I might be off from not going in the office, but if that hotel, that's my asset. If it catches on fire and my ass is in New York, I'm not going to have a job. And there were so many things where like she started getting upset. She's
That's not funny. That's horrible.
yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it was awful, dude.
Yeah, that's
It was
heartbreaking.
tough. And
Yeah.
I ended up, we were home for Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm just trying. I'm already anxious because I'm out of town, man. Even being,
You never had any drunk guests doing weird shit in the lobby? I mean, come on.
oh, dude, there's tons of more so batshit
That's
crazy.
what I'm looking for.
People die and everything out in those crazy.
Oh God.
stuff.
Okay.
It's insane. No, like water bust. I get a call and like 3 floors of the hotel are flooded because we had that freeze here in Charleston a few years ago. That was real big. Right
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, my rank ass hotel, damn copper just snapped. I think it was copper line. I don't know, but dude, flooded three rooms out. I mean, we get shit like downtown Charleston. You get drunk kids. Like, here's a funny one. All right, so
Okay. Here we go.
So we're at the front desk, and I got cameras, and this chick calls me working overnight. She's like totally shook, and she's like, "You just need to go check the camera at this time." And so I pull the camera up, and like you got this like angled down camera, like front desk, and then like the elevator, and there's 2 bathrooms. This dude comes off the elevator butt ass naked. I mean, sees, and I call her back. I'm like, was that dude? Did I just see that right? Is he like butt ass naked? And she's like, Hunter. And he was just in the bathroom. She's like, he's still in the bathroom because he couldn't come out. I don't know if he was like sleepwalking, like drunk, like what. And then that butt ass naked man, like you see her walk out, like throws a towel at him because he like cracks the door. You know, they're scared because they're the only ones there at that time. So
Right, right.
she doesn't know what's going on, but I'm like,
And get hurt by the crazy
damn it,
drunk
man. Like
naked guy.
it was always that stuff. Like the butt ass naked thing was crazy. I mean, you get cars stolen out of your parking lot and like people breaking and entering, you know, those are the tough parts about the business. Like you don't have any control over that, but
Right.
you know, and it's a business, you know, and that was a tough life, man. 24/7, 365. I mean, I remember I went on my honeymoon where we were on a cruise actually, and I'm like dying because I wasn't talking to people and I didn't know what was going on. The minute we pulled into wherever we were going, like I got cell reception. I'm like calling. Did not help because I called this kid and because my AGM didn't answer. I call this kid who was not the most positive person. Good kid, but I'm like, hey, how's everything going? He's like, not good. And then I lose reception and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to
Oh,
enjoy
no.
it.
So you're cut off at the end of not good.
Oh yeah, that was it. Like no more cell reception.
no.
So I'm like, oh man, like this is awful, like bad. And I got a lot of respect for that stuff though, man. Like that is a very underpaid position. I watched my dad; he's a beast. You know, we connected a lot on that too. We got to go to Vegas together for the Hilton convention, which was really cool.
Sure,
Actually,
sure.
him and my middle brother are both GMs for the same company. So they're flying to Orlando right now to go to that together. So we always connected. You know, I got a lot of that was able to carry in though, like customer service. I know a lot about operations. I work for
tie that into what you do now as far as the lessons learned from being the best of the best.
Yeah.
So you were a great football player and an injury ended that. You were a great singer, actually, one would argue the best singer from the things that you won. And then you go into the hotel business and you're in the weeds and you're in the mud and you're in the shit.
Yep.
And so then you transition over to working with Hayden. And I've been fortunate enough to watch that. So tell us real quick about the lessons you've learned there, and then let's get Hayden's backstory too.
Went to a bar, refused to shine. I didn't buy no beer and said, I tell you what, my name is Russ, and I'm on the mic. So listen to my podcast show. Russ might say a thing or two that you don't wanna hear. Tell you what he's thinking, just some good ideas. He's got some rowdy friends, he's gonna have them on the show. If you need some information, Russ will tell you where to go. If you feeling down or feeling mighty low, Russ will talk about money and watching that money grow. His name